let's pass over to the man who you've come to see. We've got Glen James. Give him a round of applause as he comes up, please, everyone.
Hello, how are we? We're good? Yeah? So before you ever, everyone here is at an iLead event, and sometimes as a leader you'll do different talks like this, and I've learned a few things along the way. Number one, don't spill water all over you before you get on stage. Don't eat lots of food and pizza before you speak, which I've also done that. So it could be a wild time for me up here. But I think we should have a little bit of fun tonight. Who is here who thinks that they could want to do something in relation to leadership in their career? So we're talking management. Yep. Okay, so that's about half. So we'll just assume half of us are here because we're interested in leadership. The other half just wanted pizza. Is that a fair thing? All right, tough crowd, but we're here. I'll try and make this as interactive as possible. I'm a mover, mainly out of the sun most of the time. Just a show of hands. Just give me a wave if you would classify yourself as an extrovert. Who is an extroverted person? Yeah. So an extroverted person, just keep your hands up, because we're extroverted. I'm going to need you tonight. I don't love shoving microphones in introverts' faces because it's not nice. Probably will anyway. But I don't want to embarrass anyone. Now, it would not be an event without a bit of an agenda. I'll tell you a bit of an agenda so it will lower the anxiety in the space. It's 6 o'clock now. We've got a hard 10:30 p.m. exit. So, just joke, guys. Don't freak out. I'm just trying to warm you up, gosh. I'll probably do a bit of my story and the chat until about 6:45. Then we'll take some questions. And then I can talk to anyone after, and I'll stay as long as you need me to. If you don't know me, I don't know how to use clickers. Is this? Okay, we had clicker issues before. There we go. I was a financial advisor, had a financial advice business, got out of that in 2018-19 and went full on in to podcasts because what I was doing one-on-one with clients, I was sick of repeating myself every day. So I'm like, if I'm going to say something, I might as well tell thousands of people instead of one. And I really wanted to... There was no Aussie personal finance podcast by Aussies for Aussies when I started the podcast. And that's kind of grown and, you do the book deals. I've got other little shows and whatnot. And in terms of leadership, for me at the moment, in the quote-unquote personal finance scene in Australia, I'm probably up there and, most publications in Australia, and it is a small island, there's about 3 of them, but like most TVs, radio and that, they got my name in their little black book, and so I've commented on lots of stuff, I've been on lots of stuff, and part of this whole thing with our career, because I want to weave in a little bit of a career vibe tonight, it does take time to build up. I'm 58 now, and it's taken... No, I'm not. It's taken... When I do these events, I like work on my little comedy bits and try. That one didn't work that good. It just takes time, right? And you just build upon building. And so that's a bit of us. We've got some books to give out tonight. If you answer a question, if you show leadership, you will get a book. Okay. Today, because I don't prep, I jumped into my Facebook group and I was like, what's one word you would use to describe leadership? And these are just randoms in our Facebook group. And I just thought it was interesting, like consistency came up, integrity came up, supportive. So there's these common kind of themes to leadership. Now, for the first chance to win a freebie, does anyone have any initial one-word answers that comes to mind with leadership? Okay, you're going to make me work for this. I'll come here.
I think leadership is mostly about taking initiative and just, that's one word.
Yeah, initiative. Do you want to go? You can just get up and choose a book. There's an investing book there. There's a property book there. I didn't write it, but it's part of our family. And there's our career book there. Hi.
I'll just say reliability.
Yeah, that's a good one. You can do the same. Hi.
Direction.
Yes, that's cool. Go and grab a book. And part of this whole leadership stuff, sometimes you've got to get out of your seat and go get what you want. You know what I mean? Hypothetically, if someone just walked up and grabbed a book now, I wouldn't care. It might be considered rude, but I wouldn't care. You're welcome to do that.
Example, I would say.
Example? Yeah, awesome. Do you want to get a book? Yeah. So there's lots of, there's just, I don't know. And for me, it's about, can we get a book? Love it. For me, when I look at this, I think it's about one book only, sir. Ooh. So like we have a look here, consistent and consistency. I'm pretty consistent at being inconsistent. And because I think a lot of this whole leadership, we've got to know ourselves. And I'm really, really bad at leading my team. Like, so bad. I can't lead people. And I'll share some examples of how I do that later. But I've become aware enough to know that I can't do it and it's not my strength. So the way I've set up my business is I just want some close people that I work with really closely and they can have the team under them, because if I get involved with leading people, it's not good. Absolutely not good. There is a list here when it comes to knowing ourselves, and if you can't read that, grab your phone now, open Instagram. I put it up on the moneypodcast.aus Instagram. It's my Instagram. I just put it up as a story just before because I walked in like, all right, people aren't going to read that. So what I want to do, literally take 2 minutes. I want you to think about, these are all types of values, because before we worry about leading others, we need to know what we value also with our career. So not only forget leading people, let's try and lead ourselves and our career first. And to do that first, we need to know what we value. So I'm going to take literally 2 minutes, and I just want people to have a look at this list. And if you need to, just jump on the Money Podcast Instagram. It's the first story or the second one. Obviously, give us a follow and all that. But just have a look, and I'll then ask for a couple of volunteers just to have a look at what you think your personal values are. Does that make sense? And if you don't want to, you don't have to. Got hands raised. Are they questions or values? I'll be back. I'm going for a walk. What's up? You want to share your values? Okay. What are your probably 4 values?
My 4 values would be compassion, empathy, integrity, and honesty.
Awesome. I didn't bring a book down here. So, yeah, go for a trot. Anyone else want to share some values?
I'll share some. Adventure, compassion, confidence, and trust.
Yeah, awesome. So adventure, compassion, confidence, trust. It's almost like, well, your career, I don't see you sitting in a cubicle 8 hours a day. But the thing is, we end up in these situations with our career that do not align with our values. So, anyone else? Oh, yeah. Hey.
Drive, empathy, and trust.
Awesome. You can go book shopping if you like. Oh, we go.
Okay, so mine is relationship, career, adventure, compassion, connection, and happiness.
Awesome. I love that. And in the career book, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, sure. Why not? It's courage, determination, empathy, and respect.
Awesome. That's so good. So in the career book, the whole first chapter is about identifying our values, because how bad would it be if you end up... So I saw a list of registrations for tonight. It was de-identified. It only showed your address, your tax file number, and your bank details, and your middle name. And most of all, it showed you what you were enrolled in. It was de-identified. But, you know, who here is studying an engineering type degree? Yep. I'm going out on a limb to say a lot of the engineer type personalities liked... I'll backtrack a little. I was talking to an engineer last week who had a business, and I said, I've got a friend who's looking for a role. He's an engineer. Have you got any? He lives overseas. He does remote work. He's like, yeah, most of our engineers, they just want to be alone at their computer anyway. So that type of personality doesn't want to be the greeter at the local RSL at the front desk, right? And I can tell you the amount of people that I've talked with over the years, as time goes on, we end up in these roles that just don't suit us. So imagine being in a role, fast forward, you wake up tomorrow, I'm in an engineering type role at a computer, but I'm a people person, I lack adventure, I lack a bit of compassion, and there's no compassion with numbers, it's just numbers. How can you be effective in your own career? But then secondly, how can you be effective and be good for the people that are around you? I don't know. So just focus on your values. My values, autonomy, flexibility, honesty, and communication. So the autonomy thing, I started my business, my first business when I was 25, and that's the year, man, that sun, gosh, maybe I'll stand over here. Is that annoying, Luke? When I was 25, I say that's when I retired from the workforce and started my own business. And I haven't worked a day since, because since then, I've loved what I've done. So the autonomy, I work for myself. Flexibility, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. This morning, I woke up at 9 a.m. Horrendous, I know. But, you know, and I tell other people when they, you know, throw stuff, oh, you're sleeping at 9 a.m. I'm like, I didn't see you leave your office at 7:30 p.m. on a Friday night. And so for me, that autonomy, the flexibility with people, I really value honesty. So if I'm getting some quotes at the moment to get my studio. I've got a new studio in Newcastle here, painted. And just in my everyday life, I really value honesty. So when I've got people coming in to quote me to paint or do anything, I just need to know you're being honest with me. And I really value that. And if you're 100% honest with me, I can work with you. If we can communicate and it gets tough and we can just talk about stuff, so I really value that stuff. And a lot of this stuff is in my life at the moment. Okay, so tonight, a bit of a roadmap. I'm going to share a couple of stories about my own learnings with leadership along the way. Childhood was an interesting one. Childhood was an interesting one. Ever since a kid, for some reason, and it might be that autonomy thing, it might be, some would say, control or whatnot. I did Cubs. Does anyone like Cubs and Scouts and stuff? I was like, how old are Cubs? Like 7 and 8 or 5? I don't know. I was in the local Cub group, and they had these, you had your different groups, and there was 6 in each group. I was the leader in my little 6. So from an early age, I found myself in leadership type roles. And it's just always stuck with me. And some of the stuff that I learned back then, so when you did Cubs as a little kid, like they take you camping and all that, they just drilled into you. There's no such word as can't. If you were like, kids, go climb the tree. If you're like, oh, I can't do that. No such word as can't. You can actually do whatever you want to do. You put effort, you put focus, and you can go get it. So for me, that was a big thing for me. Into my teens, I was in high school, like treasurer of the SRC. Like just found myself in these type of weird leadership roles. But not only that, when I had my first job, who here remembers their first job? Who here has never had a job? Woo! Love it. My first job, and if you get a copy of the career book, there's a photo in there of me in my first job when I was like 13. I was like really little. I was like chubby and had my first job. And my first job was a storeroom kind of cleaner in a chemist that my mum worked at a local Westfield. And I'd go over 3 afternoons a week after school for 2 hours and just had to clear the storeroom, boxes and all that stuff. And for me, one of the biggest things that I was developing as a 13-year-old with these $4 an hour, cash, mind you, like criminal, every part of it, I really learned that this is now my storeroom. Who leads this storeroom? I lead this storeroom. Hey, there's a new sheriff in town and we're not storing boxes there. We're doing it here. And it was that taking ownership of your little patch in the ground. So for me, I think one of the traits that I've learned in life and in leadership, quote unquote, is everything that I do, I 100% take ownership. I 100% treat it as it is the most important thing with a standard of excellence. So just think about that next time you're, I don't know, going through your most favourite drive-through and the person working there doesn't treat their job with that high standard of excellence. You end up getting the McFlurry that's half full and I'm like, gosh. So what if the challenge to you in whatever you do now in life or your current job, if you're in training, if you're coaching other students, what if you just decided, I'm going to do this with excellence and I'm going to do it as if I own it. So a high level of ownership. And I had that from in my teenage years. So the 20s, that was a wild time. And it was not 1920s, but I had an interesting journey. When I was 16, I left school at the end of year 11. Because, and you look at that autonomy, flexibility, I was like, I'm not going to be here getting told what to do. I don't want to learn this so I can remember it for a test. Found out last year it's chronic ADHD, but that's another story. So I left school and did an apprenticeship. The person who kind of trained me in that apprenticeship, it was telecommunications. I really learnt in that part the whole project planning, forward thinking, putting people first, not screwing people over when you do jobs. If no one can see it, you still clean up after yourself. If no one's going to see this computer rack, and like there's racks over there and all that, you can get the racks that are permanently mounted. Even if no one's ever going to see this, you have done this and you need to treat it like it's going to be on show in the Louvre. It's called the Louvre? Louvre. Next to Auntie Mona. So for me, it was just this, I was a 16-year-old guy out in the world, dealing with adults and really learning a lot of practical things. And when the team said to me, oh, do you want to come and talk about leadership? I'm like, yeah, sure. Don't heaps know what I'm going to say. Maybe call it practical leadership because it's just how I do it. And I'm a very practical person. So 20s came around, finished the apprenticeship, and I got a job. And I was like, I'm interested in financial advice. So I started studying financial services and I got a job at a financial advice office. I was living on the Central Coast, commuting to Sydney. And I started there when I was like 20 years old. And I started at the lowest of lows. And for me, remember earlier I said like, we've got to kind of put the time in and build upon things each year. We can't just rock up tomorrow to an office that we're working at or a site or the unit and expect to run the place. Where it could happen, you could get slingshot into a position, but you kind of got to do your time. And I think the problem that I see with a lot of potentially people that have grown up with everything I'm sounding like one of those old guys, but whatever, probably am. It's like with everything so instant on our phone, sometimes we can't apply that instant thing into real life because there's a thing that we live in and it's called reality. And the reality is, if you're the new person at a job, you might not know the whole thing of what's going on. You might have this cool thing, but don't die on your hill because there could be other things that management and the leadership know that's a bigger picture that you don't know yet. So in my 20s, I did my time, big time. Say time one more time, dare you. And you guys all right, hanging in there? I'm trying up here. And one of the things I kind of learned in the office one day, there was a big audit or something, almost like a stock take, you know, and we had to go through and audit every client file. And it was like everyone in the office had to do it, from like the senior advisors to paraplanners to admin managers to me. And everyone's like whinging and moaning like, oh, this is my job. And I'm like, everyone's like, why are you so chill doing this? Like, this sucks. I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm here 8 hours a day. They own my soul. They're paying me to be there. Nothing was below me. Sure, there's probably some hard lines like, Glen, clean the toilet. Well, no, there's building cleaners for that. But in terms of just the day-to-day thing, I had this mindset that for the 8 hours you're paying me, you own me. I'll do what you want. And the thing is, it's so bad that we think that, oh, I'm not doing that or blah, blah, blah. Well, we live in a free world. You don't have to work there. You can go and start your own thing, but that requires risk. That requires all this other stuff. So you've got an option, you know, what are you going to do? And I think a lot of the time, yeah, we sometimes with society lose that. I'll rephrase it. I think sometimes to be a good leader, we've got to learn how to be led well. And that for me was serving other leaders and other teams for a big part of my career, 5-6 years before I kind of stepped into my own thing. And is anyone here 25? Yeah, a few 25s. So is anyone here, put your hand up if you're under 25? Yep, fair chunk. So when I started my business at age 25, it was a big risk because I didn't have any clients. I took this leap. Was it going to work? I would go to industry events and I'd be the youngest person. And it was scary. But you've got to step out. And there's a cool quote that I'll show you soon that I think you'll want to take a photo of because it's a cool quote. I'll just say that. So yeah, into my 20s, I then started my own business, and before I knew it, I was leading a team. I had like an admin assistant. I had other financial advisors in the business, and yeah, just build up the business and trying to. I think we'll just go now to kind of my 30s. For me, the 20s was actually one half of the coin a write-off for a number of reasons. There's an episode going up on my podcast next week about, the title is, What If You Woke Up Tomorrow and? So if you want to look out for that next week, I'll go into one of the reasons why I thought my 20s was a write-off on, personal stuff, mental health stuff and all that stuff. But on the other side of the coin, for me, my 20s was a really big learning kind of pressure cooker of learning, growing, investing in my career, investing in my business. And I think for me, because when I started the podcast, I was like 33 or something like that, 34. I thankfully put the time in my 20s and was financially successful enough to basically start a podcast from scratch and live off my savings while I built it. So all that to say, if you are in your 20s, it's okay to just put the time in, get skilled up, make sure you're doing stuff that's in line with your values, and then it's amazing what you'll see, how fast things can really take off. So in my 30s, I had my own business and was, kind of sold that and went all in online. But one of the most influential, this is vibrating. Does that mean anything? Oh, yeah. One of the most influential things I did in my 30s, you might have heard of Newcastle University, you might not have. You might have heard of Stanford, you might not have. Because some of this stuff that I'm talking about with leadership, I'm talking about risks and taking good career risks, okay? I did a thing at Stanford when I had hair and less body weight and all that stuff. It was a week-long course at Stanford. It was $15,000 for the 5 days. Like gut-churning investment. Everyone's like, why are you doing that? That is crazy. And it was interesting. So I went up there with people and there was a team of people. It was called Strategic Leadership. And that week at Stanford actually changed everything that I did. And I'll talk about the one thing I learned then. But as an encouragement for tonight, what's one thing that you can think about and be encouraged by and implement into your life straight away? I might not verbally say it, but I might say spaghetti, then you might think kitchen, weirdly, and then think, oh, I'm going to start this kitchen business. So just use this time to think about stuff as I talk. But imagine, being in an environment. Any design students here? Yes, a couple. There's a thing called the D School, I think, at Stanford. And this thing, nothing is a mistake. There's no win and no fail. There is only make. So particularly in the culture that I grew up with and Australia and tall poppy syndrome, that's not normal to say nothing's a mistake. It's not normal to say there's no win and no fail. There's just make. So imagine in your life if you said, I'm just going to create, I'm just going to make things and just keep moving. There's no win. It was kind of cool. I just put this up. This lady here, I think Jennifer Akar, I think her first name was. We did a session with her and she was part of Barack Obama's election team the first time, like doing all his social strategy and all that. So all this amazing stuff. That's the first ever Google server, which was kind of cool. So it was just fun to listen to these people. And this is the quote that at Stanford, there's this, running track and footsteps in the concrete. There comes a time in every life with the past, when the past, there's a typo there, I kind of did it rushed this afternoon, where the past recedes and the future opens. It's that moment when you turn to face the unknown. Some will turn back to what they already know. Some will walk straight ahead into uncertainty. I can tell you which is right. I can't tell you which is right, but I can tell you which one is more fun. So yeah, Phil Knight, he created Nike, right? So the biggest learning I got from the Stanford, I'm trying to go back anyway. There we go. Thanks. The biggest learning I got from Stanford, who's heard the saying, lead by example? Yeah. It's the worst advice you can ever get and take on. It's horrendous. It's so bad. I mean, sure, you can lead by example, like, all right, I'll be polite and hello, everybody, welcome to the leadership class. But the thing that really shook me, I've got in my business a lady, her name's Jess. I think she studied here. Do they do English literature here? No? Oh, you do? Yeah, I think she did that here. Like full-on words nerd, right? She does all my blogs, all my emails, all my word stuff. I can't lead her by example because she's better at the words crap than I am. But what we learned there and what I've implemented into all my businesses that I've done since spending that money and flying over the other side of the world, that 15 grand wasn't the airfare either. Like, it was an expensive ordeal. Their kind of shtick with leadership is do not lead by example, lead by design. And what that means is you design systems and processes for those that you lead to flourish in. So, and that's just groundbreaking. So for me as a leader with my team, I'm crap at writing books, so I get Jess to help me. I'm crap at writing emails. Jess helps. I'm crap at scheduling podcasts because I don't do anything in the spreadsheet, I just do it, and it confuses everyone. But Rach in the team, she's awesome at that. I'm crap at editing podcasts because I rush it and it doesn't go as good because I'm not patient enough. Sean does that. I did this presentation this afternoon. It looked like a dog turd. Sean went in and cleaned it up for me. So I do not lead by example because I'm really bad at a lot of things, but I lead by design, and I've created systems that for those who I lead can flourish in. So good. There's this new buzzer where you think about pressing it and it just happens. So amazing. So this kind of leads me into my kind of 30s. I can't talk about my 40s because I haven't done my 40s yet, but in my 30s, I've got a business and our main kind of product is the podcast. We've got little spin-offs of other podcasts. So there's a team of 4 people in my immediate employed team. We've got a series of hosts that are contractors, and we've got a Facebook group that has 50,000 people. But can I see the next slide for a sec? Oh yeah, we'll just go here. So with my team, we needed to put together what we're all about and kind of our true north of what we're doing as a business. Call it a mission statement, sounds lame. Call it a vision statement, sounds lame. This is just what we do. And it's kind of our true north. We exist to be an encouraging and fun and relatable voice that leads our community to make meaningful life changes and unlock their potential. So me as a leader of my team, we need this true north because I got a message on LinkedIn the other day. Hey, Glen, want to do this? Yeah, sweet, let's go. I get distracted and want to pull the trigger on everything. Having this in our business, we can go back to an offer or an idea comes my way. I don't get shiny light syndrome and get distracted. We just run it against this lens. Will this opportunity help us do that? And it becomes really clear if it's a yes or no. So that's one of the things I've kind of implemented in the business. If I go to the next slide, in my current team, we've got 6 values of the team. And I had actually Shelley, who co-wrote the career book with me. She came in and did a full day session with the team. And part of my leadership strategy and style, which I've had to learn the hard way, is to bring the team along. So I said to the whole team, we need to leave this room today and have 5 or 6 values that we all agree on. And then I loosely said to everyone, where is it? Number 5, here by choice, own it. I said to the team, hey, last I remembered, this workplace, it's not a prison. No one's forcing you to be here. If you don't want to be here, I'll help you get another role. That's all good. But we're actually here by choice. And weirdly, in the career book, to have the choice to leave your current work and do something else it may require to have some financial systems in place, be out of consumer debt, have maybe an emergency fund, not living on the line financial. So I basically like, if you don't want to be here, I can move you on. Like, I wasn't as crass as that. And that's where we're like, no, we're here by choice. We act like owners. We choose to buy in and we take responsibility. We are a small team. We're doing big things. So yesterday, was it yesterday, I think? Trump was like, we're not giving Australia an exemption for the trade tariff on steel and aluminium. Because the way that I've set up my team, we're always prepared, always agile. We're a small team doing big things. So yesterday afternoon, and it's probably one of the only kind of podcast businesses in Australia that has this type of agility, I saw the announcement come in about 2:30 p.m. With an Albo press conference. I got someone on the Riverside or our interview thing. 3:30 we press record. 4:30 recording finished. Had it in Premiere Pro, exported. That podcast YouTube thing was out for the commute home that day. And the way I lead my team is, I don't want everyone to be working at 100% all the time. I don't want people to be working at 110% all the time. I want you to be working at 80%, so your life isn't a train wreck because of this job. And if I need to, like, if something comes in and there's an announcement that's newsy, I want to be able to break glass for emergency and we put our foot down to 110% for a short period of time and get it done. So that's the type of vibe that I've created in my team. What's the next slide? Yeah, go back. Thanks. Totally forgot my slides. I wasn't really going to do slides, but apparently you got to and all that. So a couple of things in finishing before we get to questions. Did someone say something? Yeah, that's right, yeah. So a couple of things in finishing. I want to share 2 examples of how I'm currently leading my team. And it could be right, it could be wrong. I don't know, but I'll share 2 examples. The first example is, who's ever thought or seen online, oh, I need to have the day off. It's a mental health day. I'm stressed. I need a day. Anyone thought of having a mental health day off? Yeah. And I say this from a guy who's taking medication, was a psychologist last week. I'm collecting all the words and all that, depression, anxiety, like, I'm there. I understand mental health. I'm living it. So my team a couple of years ago, someone asked me, Glen, as an employee of your business and in this team, what's your view on mental health days? I'm like, no one's asked me that before. I said, yeah, you get 2 a week, Saturday and Sunday. Like, I don't know. And I was quite serious because it's like, it's not, as an employer, don't put your responsibilities to go to bed early, exercise, see a GP if you're not well, onto me. Everyone's an adult, okay? And I can be a bit, like, because I totally get mental health myself. But I said, but what I want to do, I want to unpack this so it makes sense to you as an employee. And when I'm presenting now, I am putting on the icing pretty thick just to make it a bit more fun and dramatic, all right? I said to them, as an employee in Australia, in any business, if you are unwell and can't work, you can tell your boss that morning, hi boss, I'm sorry, I'm unwell, I can't come in today. You do not have to tell your employer you're up all night because of that dodgy pizza. You don't have to tell your boss I've got gastro, or I don't know. Like, you can literally say, I'm unwell and I can't work today. Okay, so that's number 1. So mental health day, if you are unwell mentally because it's an illness, you can have a sick day because you're unwell. Cool. But I said, the thing that I want to drill into, if you need a mental health day because me as an employer and a leader has put too much on your plate, is driving you at 120% all day, every day, and what I'm expecting of you is making you mentally unwell, I need to know about it because that's a problem that I can help solve. Does that make sense? So that's kind of one of the vibes that I run. The other vibe in my business is we do a 4-day work week, Monday through Thursday. Every Friday, day off, Saturday and Sunday, day off. So we do a 4-day work week. We don't have to work extra hours to make up that time. A lot of people, when they're like, oh, businesses do a 4-day work week, they're doing extra hours during the day. That's not the case. And if you are really interested in leadership and business, there's a really cool book called No Rules Rules, and it's from the guy that started Netflix. And if you even Google Netflix culture deck, you'll see a slideshow of their culture. And if you read it, it actually looks like a psychologically unsafe workplace on paper, but it actually isn't because it's a win-win. And I kind of stole a few things from that book for my business. An example, we do a 4-day work week. Everyone's a remote worker. Everyone is trusted by me. Everyone is an adult. One of my team members, Sean, the other day, he did a big edit. It was 1 p.m. He's like, I'm going to the gym for a couple of hours. I'll be back. Like, sweet. I said to the team, and I'll say it every time to them, I don't care if it's 10 a.m. on a Monday and you spend 2 hours sipping pina coladas on the beach. Don't care, because we're outcome driven. Everyone has a job to do. And the problem is because we've set a culture of where we do big things, we're seriously good, we own it, we challenge directly, care deeply. So if we've got a problem, we're like, hey, really care about you, but can you not delete that line on the spreadsheet every time that you finished it? Just hide it. Like, I don't know, it's an example. And the culture that I set in my team, it will become apparent if someone isn't carrying their weight. Because we're all adults, we all choose to be there. The only thing from a businessy point of view, I really don't want people working at 2 a.m. Like, they can if they want, but go with me. I've just requested, if you're a member of my team within this framework, if you want to take up to 2 hours during the day to go pick up your car from getting serviced or whatever, number one, if you can do life admin stuff on a Friday, knock yourself out. If you can't, if you need more than 2 hours away from your desk during your local business hours, because we've got different time zones, more than 2 hours, I just ask that you put in for half a day annual leave. And I think we've got a really good flow happening. But it's on the basis of me not being able to really manage people directly. So I've taken the view, I'm really crap at managing people, but here are some big boundaries. Get your work done, don't care when you work, go to the gym at lunchtime for 2 hours, don't care. And that kind of works for me. So that thing about, and I think next month is like Leadership 101. I've heard the expert doing that. They're doing a live react to this whole presentation and they're going to shoot it to shreds. But leadership, I think you have to find out who you are. You have to understand who your team is. You have to bring them with you. Lead from the middle. Lead by design. Dictatorships don't heaps work, if you've realised that in recent times. There's a new one in America at the moment. It's a wild time. Don't get political when you do presentations. So I think that's maybe all I had. If we want to just go to the next slide, these are kind of my takeaway tips for tonight. I want you to know yourself and your own values. I want you to try and set up a career based on what you value and what you're good at and enjoy, or at least don't hate. Like, if you at least don't hate life, pretty good start, right? You could have the biggest passion for playing violin hanging upside down. Good luck turning that into a career that gives you 120 grand a year. You might be able to do it, but there's probably one person in the world and they've got like aim for the stars. If it's not working, pivot. So at least do what you love. Well, not do what you love. Do what you're good at and what you enjoy or don't hate. You've got to do your time and take good risks, okay? Do your time. Take people with you. You can't push a rope. I've tried. I've really tried. And the thing is, like, I'm recording this tonight, one, because sometimes I'll listen to try and learn of all the 1%ers was like, you idiot, why did you say that? And get out of your head and all that stuff. So I'm recording. I might put it up as a bonus podcast so our listeners can get a bit of a vibe from my leadership style. My team might be hearing this going, he's a clinical psychopath. None of that happens. I don't know, but I just always value open feedback from the people that I lead. Do I get it right every time? Hell no, but I'll always listen. And be kind. I think you're allowed to be kind. You're allowed to do nice things for the people that you lead. And I think I'll finish by saying there might be a question if you want to get ready with your questions. What if you're younger and you're leading people older? That's a good thing. And that's where you need to be able to read the room. And at any age, we don't treat people like crap. At any age, we show them respect and dignity. But also on the other side of the coin, people are more likely than not to be led by a person and not a position. So the McManager down the road could be the worst McPerson in the McWorld, but the position is McManager. People are like begrudgingly leading the McManager, but there could be another McWorker who's passionate, dialed up, and they're the actual real leader, right? It's like, who's got the real power in that Mc relationship? Mc, yes. Am I Mc right? Yeah. I do think the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's though. That's all of it. If we go to the next slide, it's the Q&A time. Does anyone want to open the floor and we can have a brief chat? Okay, we're up the back. All right. Yeah, let's go for it.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. Pretty
That's
good.
my first question. My second question would be, I'm 20 years old. The question that I have for you is, and I think I speak for multiple people here, a lot of people of my age group, they suffer from the syndrome called the imposter syndrome.
Oh, I do as well. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So what I feel in my everyday today life is that I realize that everybody else is doing something. They've got something going in their lives, but I don't. The question that I have for you is, when you were 20 years old, did you know what you were going to do, or at least have an idea that you were about to do something even similar to, for example, the Money, Money, Money podcast?
Yeah, it's a good question. Have you got a copy of the career book yet?
No.
Do you want to come for a walk and grab one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in that book, I share a pretty candid story of my own imposter syndrome. So I'd encourage you to read that.
Yep, that
Yeah, go. You can walk in front. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. What is imposter syndrome? Oh, imposter syndrome. It's good. It basically means it's good. I mean, it's good. It's like juicy. It's a goodie. Okay. Imposter syndrome is, I leave here today, go and sit in my car and think, that's a train wreck. I'm horrendous. If only they knew the real me, that I don't know anything what I'm talking about. I'm a fraud. I'm an imposter. And there's a story in that book where we had a live event in Brisbane. There was like 250 people there. And at the end of it, because I get stuck in my head, and at the end of it, we had the team powwow meeting and all that. Whoops, sorry, can't say that anymore. Like this thing, and we do ice cream after our events, and I got a tub of Ben & Jerry's triple caramel chunk, and it's my safety box. And I'm just sitting there in my own world eating this Ben & Jerry's. Think of how much of a train wreck that whole night was. The imposter syndrome walked in. I was thinking, I've got no idea. I got no idea about money. I got no idea. And then And the next day I kind of snapped out of it. And I'm like, whoa, that's really not a good place to be in. But we've got to look at the facts. The facts are that 200 people paid $60 to see me. The facts are I wasn't making anyone come along. The facts are they stayed till the end and we couldn't get rid of them. The facts are I actually am qualified because I'd been a financial advisor for 12, 13 years. Weirdly, I actually do know what I'm talking about when it comes to personal finance. You might not agree with some of the comments, but I 100% know, 80% of the time, what I'm on about. So it can creep in. To your question, I did know I wanted to get into money. I did know that deep inside of me it was my own business. I did know that I needed a sense of autonomy and freedom in my life. But this is the weird thing. When I was 20, no one knew what a podcast was. The weird thing as well, this is why you need to drill down on your values. You need to drill down on what you enjoy. Before I left school early, blows my mind. The two subjects, actually there was 3 subjects that I was really good at. The first one was business studies. Just inherently knew the stuff. Don't know why I knew what a proprietary limited was, like a company. I was really good at photography. I was really good at IT and computers. Fast forward today, I run my own business. It's basically a media business that's tech, video, and I always wanted to be a radio announcer. And I'm doing that in this weird way. So step back. And one thing, I didn't actually mention it with my team with the leadership thing. I've got this thing. So the engineers in the room, give me a hello again. Yeah, love you guys. You make our bridges safe. I watched the guy on YouTube, Practical Engineering. Anyone seen him? Yeah. I like watching civil engineering stuff. Sue me, all right? The engineer personality, hey, birdie, they need it perfect before we can make the next step. We want that bridge to be perfect. You can sit down if you like. You don't have to. Yeah. Thanks. So the engineer needs it perfect to make the step because it's logical, it needs to add up. My personality doesn't. I'll just take a risk. And with your career, I think it's about looking for trends and potentially not knowing each mini step. My team, so we're about to start a new YouTube show. And this is weird, like we've got one of the most successful business podcasts in Australia, which is just, I could not do that again if I started today. Just couldn't do it. But now I want to start some more YouTube stuff, right? Sure, like we've got a little 6,000 follower account, but I've got to start YouTube from scratch. Everyone in the YouTube world, they don't care about podcasts. They don't really know who we are. So I've got to build something from scratch again. And my team will say to me, Glen, you're going to do this new project. What about step 3 and 4? Like, we can't compute and get past this. But I'm like, no. The analogy is we're heading north in this direction. We're going together. All I know is that it's this direction. We're going together. However, when we get to a bridge or a river or whatever, we'll work out how to cross that as a team together. So with your career in life, get a direction, get a vibe, all that stuff on your strengths, your skills, and just move in that direction. You don't have to have it all figured out. Did that make sense? Yeah, cool. Any other comments? Yeah. Oh, hang on one sec. Use this because this is recording.
We'll double up. What was your biggest challenge when starting your business that you just think about often that you learnt a lot from?
Yeah, what do you do or what are you studying? Oh, there's a bug on you.
Thanks. I study data science and mathematics.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
So eventually I'd like to see myself as a senior data scientist. so in a higher up role, but then maybe when I'm 30, start my own consulting business specifically in that. And I also just want to know about like how hard is it to make that actual jump from job to business?
Yeah, awesome. For me, in the business that I was in, financial advice, you need clients to give advice to and charge money to make money. The biggest thing when so if I'm a data scientist and I am an employee and I want to be a contractor and step out into my own business, I've got to, when I do that step, the day-to-day data, data scientist thing, your day-to-day job, you've got to do the time because that stuff needs to be, you've got to know it like the back of your hand. You need to be confident that data science, come at me. There's not like confidence in that. Because the minute you step over that threshold and want to be a consultant and do your own thing, your reason for living is to get customers and clients. And a lot of business owners, they'll go out on their own. They're the most awesome baker in the world, but they can't run a bakery. Likewise, you can be the best business owner in the world, but you know nothing about the baking industry. I wanted to buy a Domino's pizza a few years ago, or like a million years ago. And we were doing the due diligence and looking into it. And we walked away. Excuse me, helicopters at the back. Excuse me. Didn't age well, that joke. But we drew out, like we just didn't do it because for me to go and buy a Domino's business, sure, I know how to run a business, like money in, money out equals, hopefully there's a gap which is called profit. Those things are easy, but do I know anything about the pizza world? And the answer is no. So I'm a firm believer, you've got to do your time so you know your trade, your craft, your skill like the back of your hand, because when you start your own business, it's got nothing to do with how good you are as a data scientist. Does that make sense? That was the hardest thing, getting clients. I spent the whole first year going to other companies that could send me clients instead of looking for individual clients. I went to like accountants. Can you send me your clients? So, yeah. Do we want me to do one more? Yeah, more questions. All right. Is there a microphone down the back? Ah, sweet. Do you want a book? There's career ones over there, or if you want to buy property.
Thank you so much. Okay. What would you recommend?
I'll just grab both. Get one of each. Yeah. All right. Yo.
So
yes.
Here you are. Thank you so much. So transitioning from an employee to an employer and also being the leader in your team, how do you manage tough conversations with your team members?
With great difficulty. Okay, so I think tough conversations, my team will probably tell me I've never nailed it, but my intent, and I think it goes both ways. I'll start, if you need to talk to your manager or boss about something, don't ambush them and lump it on them because they've got stuff going on. Don't knock on my door and say, oh, Glenn, I need to have a chat to you about this. I'm like, whoa, hang on, I'm just trying to close this deal here so we can all have a job tomorrow. So don't ambush if you're talking to your boss. I think the tough conversations, I've been pretty lucky with my team, but it's really hard. And I don't know if I've got you know what? Tomorrow, I'm recording with Shelley Johnson. She's got a podcast called This Is Work, okay? We're recording tomorrow. I'm going to guest host, be on her show with her. I'm going to ask her that question. She's probably got a whole episode on tough conversations, but if I had to approach one of my team members, I think it would not be the ambush, and it's really hard because we're remote, right? And you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If I'm like, if the speaker was my team member, send my speaker a Slack message. Hey, can we catch up tomorrow? I need to have a chat with you. If that's out of the blue, speaker has gone into orbit thinking they're in trouble. it's a lose-lose situation. Easier if you're in an office, you go over, hey, can I grab you for 5 minutes in 10? I just want to have a quick chat. Step in, like, I think it's a bit easier face-to-face, but tough conversations, we've got a remote team, 100% don't do it over Slack or text. The minute we've got into conversations with Slack and text and it's like 15 paragraph emotionally fueled comments, it's like, what are you doing here? This is a phone call. It's not, so it can't be text, can't be email. It's got to be on the phone or through Teams meeting or Google Meet. So all that to say, dunno, it's hard. It's not easy, but remember, if you have the attitude of, I care deeply about this person, I'm coming to you with, hey, I think this is a problem. Can you tell me about it? But I'll do that question next Monday or Tuesday. The episode will be out, I think, because we haven't got one in the bag for next week. So I'll definitely ask that tomorrow. How to have tough conversations. Is that the gist?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yo, hang on, I'll bring you. And just tell me when to go home as well, everyone.
So, hi, it was great listening to you. So, you have been working in finance, and there is an image of finance that, you have to work till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and even you won't sleep. So, how did you come up with a four-day-a-week idea? And why?
So, like a 4-day work week, or? Yeah, so the 4-day work week, there's research out there that says a team can be just as productive if we just put a bit of urgency on things, right? And when we moved to the 4-day work week, we were doing a Monday morning meeting every week before that. And got to the point, it's like, what are we doing here? This is a waste of time. I've got work to do. So ditch that hour and a half meeting, and I don't know, it just worked. If you want to write this down, search Tim Duggan and Glen James or something like that. He was on my podcast. We actually did the 4-day work week experiment with him. He's an author. He wrote a book called Work Backwards, and we were one of his live case studies. And it worked out that our team moving to a 4-day work week, it still blows my mind, we're doing the same, if not more, output than when we were doing 5 days a week. It just blows my mind. And for me as a leader and as a old school bums on seat 9 to 5 type of guy, I had to really let go and not try and control it and just let it be. So the reason was, number one, we think we can get stuff done. Number two, for my team, how good's that? Every week, I don't work Fridays. There was a caveat, if I had a big thing come up and there was a meeting with an external party that could only do Fridays, we'll do it, but it's been like 2 years and that's never been a problem. For me as the business owner, I'm probably a workaholic anyway, and for me, Fridays when the team is in there, I get lots done because I don't get messaged all day. So it's good for me just to be able to do what I want without needing to answer team questions. But yeah, the book's called Work Backwards, and my business, Simo Interactive, it's in there as an example. Yeah. Oh, yes. Do you like a book? Yeah, just go and help yourself. There's a couple of... grab that property one as well if you want.
As a business owner and team leader... Don't mind me. How do you keep yourself from micromanaging your staff?
Yeah, so... Oh, gosh. I used to be really bad at... I think it becomes a control thing. So the question was about micromanaging as a leader. You've got to actually let your team be and have mistakes, and hopefully we can learn from them. If something happens and it was an error, did that person in your team not know that you wanted it done a certain way? So it's procedure and it's all that. If there's a recurring thing and they're in your team you have to micromanage, it's probably more either they're not in the right role and they're not in their right strengths. But I think it is more a, you've got to just learn to let go, let it snow, all that. I don't know the answer other than it's just practice and really strong external boundaries. Do whatever you want in here. But the thing, so for me in my business, we're making this big transition from audio only to like our YouTube, where pretty much most podcasts now I'm filming. So we've had to completely change our workflow, completely. And because a hobby of mine, and this was the crazy thing, when I had my fun, and if you do need to run off now, it's all good. Just make sure you sign up to iLead on the way out. When I had my financial advice business, my hobby and my thing on the side was podcast. That was my side hustle, and video editing. I like doing it. Unfortunately/fortunately, that's my everyday now. And I still do a lot of video editing myself just for fun, and I'll drop the odd episode myself. But because I've had to completely change our workflow, I have to now work with Sean, our editor, because he's as skilled up in Premiere Pro than I am. And it could look like micromanaging at the moment, but it isn't. It's just I need to fully understand that what he's doing, how he's doing it. And I think, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but every role in my business, I've done all the roles. Maybe not as good. Like I used to do all the emails myself, not as good as they are now. I used to do all the editing myself, not as good as they are now. I used to do all the production so for me, I need to be acutely aware and not ignorant or unknown. Like I need to know what the team do and how they do it. I don't think it answers your micromanaging question, but it's hard. And you just got to let go and ask your team for feedback. Hey guys, do you feel like I get in your grill and micromanage you? And hopefully you can have a safe enough workplace where they go, oh, to be honest, I actually know where the send button is on the email. We don't need to do a screen share and you show me how, like, hopefully they will give you feedback. We might go one more. Is that all right? I'm sorry. See, I'm not the best leader of anything. All right, hi.
How do you personally manage a full-time workload and mental health? Do you find you have to temporarily sacrifice one in order to have the other successful at the time?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you didn't quite hear that, it was around as a self-employed person, I've got my own mental health issues, and I think last year I really found out that maybe my capacity and output is and was a lot higher than I actually thought. And it's like, yeah, I work 7 days in a row, it's all good, but literally killing me, okay? In my diary, so what I've done is I've got a system now, every fortnight, because it's about knowing yourself, right? And what used to happen was I used to work, then probably every 8 or 9 weeks, literally hit a wall and be on the lounge, burned out and not functioning for a week. And I'm like, far out, this is not good. So what I've done, I've experimented a little bit. I used to do a 2 week on, 2 week off. Now it's 1 week on, 1 week off. So today, Monday this week in my diary, it says Monday 8 a.m. GJ off week, except for a Tuesday episode if I need to do that. So the off weeks for me, it's not I'm not working. The off week for me is I don't allow any external podcast Calendly bookings automatically in my diary. If the team want to book in a guest manually or whatever, nothing gets booked in my diary on my off week. I can choose to do a podcast yesterday. So what I'm saying is I've worked out for my own mental health and my own way of doing things, that autonomy and freedom and flexibility, I've got into a cadence where at least I know next week I can have a breather. And this is the annoying thing, right? My day job, 9 to 5, I'm effectively a content creator. I've got to create content for 2 podcasts every week. It's really hard to create if your mental health is in the gutter. So I think it is understanding who you are, how you operate, not being ashamed to put boundaries in, and just just try it. So for me, the 2 weeks of recording and then the 2 weeks of just floating around and tinkering, and it didn't work. So I'm good with week on, week off. So that's how I've done it. Cool. All right, there we go. We might wrap that up to go. Do you have a book? Would you like one? All right, I'll meet you halfway. Thank you, everyone. And
Yeah,
no
thank
worries.
you. Please give Glen a massive round of applause.
There are more books as well.
Yes. Now, I know that I have learnt so much this evening, things that I wish someone had have sat down and spoke to me about when I was 18, 19, 20, even 25, even 35. So very, very valuable lessons there. Could I all encourage you at some point as you're driving home tonight, tomorrow, on the weekend, just take time to reflect on what it is you've learnt tonight and what you've taken away from that. Listen to the podcasts. Search Shelley's podcast.
This
as
is
well.
work.
This is work. So I think you also get a lot out of that one, as well as Glen's money one. And I think Glen has indicated he's happy for some private questions at the end, if anyone would like to approach Glen, if you didn't feel comfortable in asking your questions.
Yeah, so and part of that, knowing yourself and being okay with it and not feeling guilty, before we kind of started tonight, my inner Glen wanted to come and meet everybody and say hi. But I've learned that if I do that, and then, because I'm an introvert, right? If I went and talked to all these people before I presented, I would be drained. So I went and sat in that big, great ballroom over there. I sent my friends a photo and I'm like, no one came, lol. But I just had to be alone. So now I can give my energy and I'll stay as long as you need. But please read the room if there is 3 people waiting to speak to me. Don't tell me your life story. Just read the room, but I'll stay as long as we need to. But thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Please give Glen another huge round of applause.
And if you haven't got a book, do you want to just let the fish and chips go to the seagulls? Absolutely. All right. There's heaps of career books over there that the team has so generously purchased for everyone tonight. Yes. Thank you very much. Thanks, friends. All right.